Alright, Chapter 12, 1959. We are in December, page 103 in the book. Bring my mic over here. There we go. "You look so pretty," Florinda said, pressing her lips against my cheek. Sat in front of the mirror, I put my veil in place. "Can't believe I'm getting married." A stray tear rolled down my cheek, and I dabbed it with my hanky, hoping my mascara wouldn't run, even though it was waterproof. Florinda arranged my dress. "You can still say no." "James loves me and I love him," I said, patting her hand. I stood, and my dress fell in loose cascades. It was made from the finest satin. Lace covered my neck and arms, not forgetting the folded lace gathered for my veil. Of course, the dress fitted to a T. No baggy pleats riding up my back, no material dragging on the ground. It had been made to measure, and I was proud of it. "See you later," Florinda said, and stepped out of the living room. She and Ornella were going to be escorted to the Roman Catholic Church in Guildford by one of James's uncles. A 15-minute drive on a good day. Saturdays were always meant more cars on the roads. I doubted a lot of people would venture out on a cold day in December. I could be mistaken. The English never felt the cold as much as I did. Pulling on my lace gloves, took hold of my bouquet before stepping out of the house. I climbed out of the old Bentley lent for us for the event by one of James' distant cousins. I think his name was Rex. With such a big family, I had a hard time remembering them all. Despite the cold December bite, my hands were hot and clammy. I entered the small 19th century Roman Catholic Church of St. Mary's, and my heart drummed against my chest. I squeezed Rex's arms while I kept my eyes fixed on James, waiting at the altar. Rex squeezed my fingers in response, and my heart ached. I should be walking down the aisle with Papa, listening to his reassuring words. Not this stranger whispering words I didn't understand. I clutched my bouquet nearer to my stomach while my feet took determined steps on the cold stone floor. This was my first life event away from home. No family apart from my sister to rejoice with me. The high arched windows loomed above, leading way to the altar. Heads turned as I moved in time to the wedding march. All the guests were dressed in heavy coats. Some wore hats. Most of the women had fine gloves. Apart from Florinda and my friend Ornella, the rest of the church was James's family and friends. My gaze fell on Margaret and Christine, the two bridesmaids who walked in front of me. Poor darlings shivered in the cold December air. Both wore a simple short-sleeved dress of soft pale blue and a crown of fresh flowers on their heads. With their short blonde curls, they resembled tiny angels, each wearing a broad grin that set me smiling despite the pain deep inside due to my family's absence. Oh wait, I forgot. Someone whispered. Who was it that did that? I don't know, it got lost in all the freaking hydrates. Someone wanted a whisper. Pretty sure it was Stunt Papa. Think. Yep, ear whispering mode, Stunt Papa. So sorry. Totally forgot. Just came back to me right now. Okay. Stunt Papa. I'm gonna do the whispering. Beautiful stained glass whispers beamed above me. Checked what I saw. Sunlight filtered into the church, bathing the aisle and pews with specters of colors. We didn't have windows like that in my village church. I had to admit, the cozy atmosphere pleased me with all the burning candles and the smell of musty prayer books. All my fears disappeared when James turned and locked his gaze with mine. His dark eyes wandered over me in a way that showed me he approved. In a short while, I'd be this man's wife, and I'd carry his name. The echo of my footsteps on the stone slabs came to a halt as I stood next to James in his horse guard uniform. He held out his hand, and I knew I would be happy with this Englishman. The effort he'd made for us to marry in a Catholic church proved his love for me. Mama would be so proud of him. He, the priest, began the ceremony, and I gazed up at the cross above the altar, waiting for the cue to take my wedding vows. I'd repeated them over and over in my head, determined to get my pronunciation right. Most people said my accent was a pleasure to listen to. Charming, even. I'd have to take their word for it. James made his vows. Pleasant warmth radiated through me. It wasn't a marriage of convenience. And the man standing next to me, telling everyone that he promised to stick by me in sickness and in health, was the man I'd chosen to be my husband. Not a person my father had wanted me to wed. Till death do us part. James' rich voice brought me out of my daydream. Hey, Vincent. He squeezed my fingers, and I'd found my fairy tale prince. I'd like to believe that my husband was my soulmate, that we'd always remain together in this life, and the one after. James pulled back my veil and stooped low to brush his lips ever so lightly against mine. In that brief second, I didn't regret becoming Mrs. de Lucy. The name sounded right. It rang well with Bianca. It was my name now. Florinda said it didn't sound very English. What did I care? I married the man, not his name. The sound of bells pealed through the church, our cue to leave. James reached for my hand and raised it to his mouth before placing it in the crook of his arm. There you go. Hopefully that was a pleasant experience. I love you, Mrs. de Lucy. His broad smile sent warmth flowing through me, and my heart pounded with happiness. I want you to savor every minute of our special day, and I promise to make you happy until my dying day. My vision blurred at his touching words. I never thought anyone would love me like this. James had given me his name and was prepared to make me happy. What more could I ask for? Outside, six of his horse guard friends formed a guard of honor, with their swords drawn above us, catching the weak streak of sunlight playing on the blades. As if on cue, the bells went mad, but the deafening noise didn't last. Too cold to hang around, the guests disappeared, eager to reach the warmth of the reception of Chilsworth Village Hall, where a hot meal would be waiting for us. Vincent, hello. Hello, sexy voice. Oh, and hi, Average. It's a shame you don't stream, Vincent, because you have got the voice. You, sir. Yes. Oh, you. I said you, sir. I glanced around the village hall with my new husband at my side, taken aback by the beautiful gold decorations on the ceiling and walls. Side tables with immaculate white tablecloths were layered with trays of appetizing food. Several waiters stood by the door, waiting to serve the food and drink. The room vibrated with lively chatter, and we were welcomed with enthusiastic clapping. Wooden chairs scraped the old parquet as the guests stood, encouraging us to make our way to the head table. Holding James's hand, I headed for my seat in front of the room full of guests. James leaned over and kissed me, setting off cheers from everyone. I blushed and placed my hands on my knees. Florinda and Ornella sat next to me at the top table. They chattered quietly together, gazing around and laughing from time to time.
Drink! 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 Drink!
What were they talking about? What was so funny? And another one. Good, yes. Thank you. James wandered about the guests, greeting friends and making enthusiastic chatter. Don't they make a nice couple? Someone to my left said. I turned and smiled at the lady. Although I didn't understand everything that was being said, I enjoyed listening to the happy chatting and the laughter of the people around me. This was my family now, and I'd be eternally grateful. They'd taken me into their home, and I felt loved. Keeping your beans well watered? I beg your pardon? What beans? I don't have any beans. Or do I have? It doesn't matter. Right. Okay, obviously I'm missing something. Are you going to ask if he likes French doors too? Parlez-vous français? I'm just going to keep reading. James regained his seat next to me. You make a beautiful bride. You nice too, I replied, caressing his cheek. When everyone quietened down, James gave a nod, and the waiters served the meal. Red or white wine? Young waiter asked, holding up 2 bottles. I opened my mouth to answer when James said, My wife will have a glass of the white. I raised my eyebrows and turned to him. We drink red wine at home. Papa always serve Cignati and Valpolicella. No idea if I said that right. James gazed into my eyes before whispering, Believe me, the white is better. Couldn't I make my own decision? One of the reasons I'd left Italy was to get away from my father and elder brother telling me what to do. A glass of pinkish red wine fizzing on the next table caught my attention. I refrained from saying anything further and took a sip of my white wine. Dana! I growled as my mouth shriveled. The liquid rolled around my mouth before it scraped the back of my throat as I tried to swallow. I thumped the glass back onto the table and took a huge gulp of water, trying to soothe both my burning mouth and stomach. James laughed at my pinched face. And you wanted a glass of the red? Apart from the incident with the wine, the reception went well. James' relatives were a cheerful bunch, joking, teasing, and simply having fun. Not one of them had pulled a face or hadn't been prepared to laugh. So different from my lot back in Italy. We waved goodbye to the last of the guests before returning to the house. It was well past 1 in the morning, and I was desperate to kick off my toe-pinching shoes. James took hold of my hand as we walked up the path to the front door. Before entering, he pressed my knuckles hard against his lips, holding my gaze. For a second, I saw his face, fiery and demanding. as he lifted me without effort into his arms. He held me close and carried me over the threshold and upstairs. He paused for a moment at the bathroom door and choked out, "I love you, Bianca de Lucy." I put my palm to his cheek. "Love you too, James." He unzipped my dress and let it fall in shimmering folds around my ankles. A chill from the cold room rolled over my body, raising goosebumps. This was only a prelude to the heat to come. My eyes wandered over James's silhouette as he undressed. It wouldn't be cold for long. My hands turned clammy. A hot flush rushed through me, and my pulse kicked up a notch. The empty sensation in my stomach brought up waves of excitement as James pulled back the covers. I took his outstretched hand and slipped under the sheets, grateful he got in first. That still didn't stop my breath from catching as the cold contacted the linen. I was going to give myself to this man, to my husband, to the person I'd chosen to marry of my own free will, the man I would stand by for better or worse. We lay facing each other, my body reveling in his warmth. There was no need for words. Our eyes said it all. My senses spun when he placed his mouth over mine. Over and over he kissed me gently, murmuring my name, making my stomach flutter and my pulse race. My heart hummed. My head hummed, my heart thumped, and my mind whirled. After several long moments, he pulled back and gazed at me. There was love and respect in his eyes. "Bianca." I placed my mouth over his. I wanted this man so much. There's a break in the story. You don't get to find out what happens next. A fortnight later, which means 2 weeks, by the way, James hurried into the house, picked me up, and swung me around and around, a huge beam on his face.
Drink! 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 Drink!
Oh, you're going to be doing so many squats on Monday. That's all I'm going to say. "Tomorrow, we're going to London, to our new home," he said. "Do you understand, Bianca?" "Yes." We'd been living with James's parents since the wedding, and I couldn't wait to have a place of my own. Christmas had come and gone. We'd celebrated the New Year the night before with all it entailed, eating, drinking, and wishing everyone eternal happiness. James hugged me close and placed a chaste kiss on the top of my forehead. A new year was about to begin. Perfect. I needed to start afresh. I had a husband who loved me, a family who cared, and freedom. Time to look ahead. To live my dream and find a job as a professional dressmaker.